Hello? My name is Austin, and I want to share my story about the betrayal that changed my life. It all started out pretty normal. My girlfriend Emily and I had a great life together. We met in college and quickly became inseparable. A few months later, we decided to move into a small house where every corner was filled with our shared memories and dreams. On weekends, we loved to relax together, listening to jazz records and discussing plans for the future. I remember one day Emily told me she wanted to get a dog, and I agreed, even though I had never thought about it before. Then we got Charlie, a golden retriever who became part of our little family. But over time, things gradually started to change. Emily found a new job and I was happy for her because it was a great opportunity for her. She started staying late at work, and I realized that the new position required more time and effort. She always needed to call a taxi to get home because public transportation was no longer available at such a late hour. One day, after returning home from another long day at work, we sat down to dinner and Emily mentioned that she wanted to show me something. She took a business card out of her bag and showed it to me. I looked at the business card. It was simple, with Brian's name and phone number, and nothing special caught my attention. I even thought it was a nice gesture on the part of the driver. Emily worked hard, and every discount helped us save a little money. "That's great," I said, trying to be supportive. "It's good that you have a regular driver you can rely on." Emily smiled and put the business card back in her wallet. I didn't think much of it at the time. She often talked about her job and how hard it was to find transportation home at late hours. It seemed like everything was going on as usual, and I had no reason to suspect anything wrong. However, I started to notice that Emily started to mention Brian more and more often. She would tell me how he was always on time, how polite he was, and how he always made conversation. This seemed normal to me. She had always been a social person and found it easy to get along with others. However, something inside me began to feel uneasy. Why does she mention him so often? Doesn't she talk about the taxi driver too much? These questions started running through my head, but I pushed them away, not wanting to believe that something could be wrong. I tried to stay calm and not suspect anything unnecessary. I began to notice changes in Emily's behavior. She became more distant, often thoughtful, and rarely smiled when we were together. Over time, our conversations stopped being as open and warm as they used to be, which I found even stranger. She no longer told me about her work with the same passion and detail. Our dinners became more silent, and her eyes were often directed into the distance, as if she was thinking about something else. At first, I chalked it up to work fatigue. Her new position was very demanding, and I realized that she could be overworked and stressed. I tried to support her as much as I could, cooking dinner, cleaning the house, even giving her a massage when she came home late. However, the feeling of distance between us did not disappear. One evening, while waiting for Emily to come home from work, I decided to cook her favorite dinner, seafood pasta. Standing in the kitchen, I chopped vegetables and occasionally looked out the window, waiting for her to return. The evening sun had already disappeared behind the horizon, and the street began to sink into twilight. Finally, I saw a familiar taxi pulling up to our house. It stopped, and I was relieved to see Amelia inside. But what happened next shook me to the core. Emily leaned over to the driver and kissed him on the cheek. I froze, feeling my heart begin to pound in my chest. I couldn't quite understand if I was imagining it or if what I saw was true, that she had kissed Brian on the cheek. I stood by the window, not moving, watching this moment. She got out of the car, her face glowing with an unusual tenderness that I hadn't seen in a long time. Amelia came into the house, and despite everything I had seen, I tried to greet her joyfully. She looked a little tired, but smiled when she saw me and Charlie, who was lazily wagging his tail at her feet. "Hello, darling. How was your day?" she asked, coming up to me and hugging me. "Not bad," I replied, trying not to let my inner turmoil show. "I made dinner, your favorite seafood pasta." "Oh, thank you, that's so nice," Emily said, her voice warm. "I'm really hungry." We sat down to dinner, and I tried to keep it together. The dinner I had prepared with such love now seemed tasteless. Emily sat across from me, looking a little tired but calm. I could feel the emotions raging inside me, which were hard to contain. I needed to talk to her, to sort things out before our relationship deteriorated even further. Emily, I began, trying to keep my voice calm. I'd like to talk about what I saw when you came home today. She raised her head and looked at me in confusion. What do you mean? I saw you kiss Brian on the cheek, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. It really surprised and upset me. Emily sighed and put her fork down on her plate. Brian is just my driver and a good friend. There was no kiss. But I saw it with my own eyes, I said, feeling a wave of emotion rising inside me. How can you deny what happened right in front of my eyes? Emily looked at me seriously. You must have seen something wrong. There is nothing between Brian and me. I love only you, and that's not going to change. But then why do you think of him so often? Why do you talk about him so much? I couldn't contain my doubts. She sighed again and leaned forward slightly. He became my friend, but that doesn't mean there's anything more between us. I would never betray you. I sat in silence, trying to digest her words. I couldn't fully believe her because I realized that what I saw with my own eyes contradicted what I heard. She seemed sincere, but that kiss never left my mind. Was it possible that I had really misunderstood the situation? But still, those changes in her behavior, her aloofness, all this could not be just a result of fatigue. Why have you become so distant lately? I finally asked. Our relationship is not what it used to be. I can feel it. Emily lowered her head, looking sad. I know I haven't been the best partner lately. My job is exhausting, and I just don't always have the energy to be the same. But that doesn't mean I don't love you. I just need time and support to find my balance again. Her words softened my pain a little, but they couldn't completely calm my doubts. I want to trust you, Amelia. But that kiss, I can't just forget about it. It was just a friendly gesture, I swear to you, she said, looking me straight in the eye. I would never do anything to ruin our relationship. You are the most important person in the world to me. Okay, I finally said, trying to control my emotions. I believe you. But let's try to talk to each other more. I don't want there to be anything unresolved between us. We continued with dinner, trying to talk about other things. But there was still a little doubt inside me that kept nagging at me. 2 days later, when I came home from the store, I saw that Emily was already home as well. I went to the kitchen to feed our dog, and at that time I heard the sound of a message. It was Emily's phone. I went to the phone and saw a text message to Brian. I wasn't going to read someone else's messages, but taking advantage of the moment that Emily was in the shower, I decided to act instinctively. I picked up the phone and opened the message. My heart sank when I saw the text. Hi Emily, let's reschedule our meeting for tomorrow because I have something to do. I couldn't believe what was happening. What meeting was this about, and what did I not know? I realized that I wasn't going to get anything out of Emily, so I decided that the best option was to figure it out myself. So I decided that tomorrow I would lie to Emily to follow her. The next day, everything went according to my plan. She didn't suspect anything I said. I packed up and left. I got in my car and drove a block and stopped near our house so that Emily would not notice my presence, waiting for Brian to come to pick her up. The time was endless, and every minute seemed like an eternity. Finally, I saw a car pull up to our house. It was Brian. When Emily came out of the house, I saw her start to smile immediately, which only added to my pain. When she got into the car, they drove away and I started following them. As they drove through the city in an unknown direction, I realized that they were not going to Emily's work. Eventually, when we were almost on the outskirts of town, I saw them turn toward the motel. I didn't fully understand what was going on and why they were here, but I got answers to these questions later because I was curious how far my Emily could go. I parked nearby and saw them coming inside, laughing and gently touching each other with their hands. I walked up to the reception, trying to stay calm. The employee, an elderly man with a tired look, looked up at me. Good evening, I began. Can you tell me which room two people just entered? A man and a woman. I realized that simple questions would not be enough. Time was running out, and I couldn't afford to miss this moment. With a sigh, I took $100 out of my wallet and handed it to the employee, hoping that the money would loosen his tongue. "Please, it's very important to me," I said, looking him straight in the eye. The man carefully took the money, examined it slightly, and put it in his pocket. After a pause that seemed like an eternity, he whispered, "They're in room 217. My heart was beating fast. I took another step and asked, "Can I also get the keys to their room? It's a matter of life and death." The staff member hesitated, but eventually got the room keys and handed them to me. "Be careful," he said without looking me in the eye. I thanked him and quickly headed for the stairs leading to the second floor. My legs felt like cotton wool, and I could feel the cold sweat running down my back. When I reached the door, I stopped for a moment, trying to calm my heart. My hands were shaking, but I knew I couldn't back down. I knocked lightly, but no one answered. I knew I had the keys, but I couldn't dare to open the door because I couldn't imagine what was waiting for me behind it. Finally, I took the key and carefully opened the door. Walking into the room, I saw their belongings scattered. Their jackets, bags, and even shoes were strewn across the floor. My heart was pounding even harder. I looked around the room, but Emily and Brian were not there. But then I heard soft laughter from the bathroom. With the feeling that I was about to see something I didn't want to see, I approached the bathroom door. When I opened it, I saw the worst nightmare I could imagine. Emily was on her knees in front of Brian, giving him a special kind of intimacy. Her face was illuminated by a dim light, and his hands were braided in her hair. Neither of them noticed my entrance, immersed in their intimate moment. My heart stopped and then exploded with pain and anger. I could not believe my eyes. All my doubts and suspicions were now confirmed in the worst possible way. The Emily I loved was cheating on me with another man right in front of me. My world fell apart in an instant. I felt like I was losing control of myself. A primal anger rose up in the depths of my soul, and I threw myself at Brian, grabbing him by the throat. He began to choke, his eyes filled with fear. Emily, frightened and confused, screamed out loud, "Austin, let him go! Now!" Her voice broke through my anger, and I stopped for a moment. But the image of them together continued to burn me from the inside. I felt like I was losing myself in this maelstrom of emotions. Brian was wheezing and trying to get free from my arms, but I couldn't stop. "Let him go, please!" Emily screamed, tears streaming down her face. "Austin, please!" I heard her voice again, and this time it brought me to my senses. I let go of Brian, who fell to the floor, panting and coughing. I took a step back, feeling the strength leave my body. Anger gave way to despair and powerlessness. "How could you?" I asked, looking at Amelia. "How could you betray me like that?" She grabbed a towel and covered herself, looking confused and scared. "It was a mistake, Austin. I don't know what came over me." "A mistake?" My voice trembled with emotion. "You call that a mistake? You betrayed me, our love, everything we had together." Leaving the room, I closed the door behind me and sank to the floor in the hallway. Thousands of thoughts were running through my head, but none of them gave me an answer. My trust was broken, my heart was broken. I didn't know what to do next, but one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same again. When I left the motel, I felt completely broken and betrayed. My steps were heavy and my thoughts were confused. My heart was pounding and I felt an unbearable pain in my chest. As I got into the car, I felt trapped by my own emotions. My head was heavy and my eyes were filled with tears. I started the engine and abruptly drove onto the road. My hands were gripping the steering wheel tightly, and the thoughts of what I had seen were haunting me. I began to press the gas pedal, picking up speed. The road in front of me was blurring, but I didn't stop. Anger and despair controlled me. Gradually, the speed increased to 60, then 74, 93. I could see the numbers on the speedometer continue to grow. 111, 125 miles per hour. The car was flying down the highway, and I felt like I was on the edge of an abyss. Thoughts of just crashing, ending all this pain and betrayal, flooded my mind. What's the point of all this? I thought. What's the point of living if the people you love can betray you so easily? But suddenly an image of my parents appeared in my mind. I imagined their faces, their care and love that they had always given me. How would they survive the loss of their son? How would they feel if they found out that I had taken my own life because of betrayal? These thoughts were like a cold shower, bringing me to my senses. I realized that life, even with all its difficulties and pain, is a gift. Emily is not worth my giving up my life for. She was not worth me causing my parents untold pain. I let go of the gas pedal and began to slow down gradually. The car slowed down, and I felt my heart calm down a little. I pulled over to the side of the road, turned off the engine and just sat there, breathing in the cool night air. Tears were rolling down my cheeks, but now they were mixed with relief. I won't let her ruin my life, I whispered to myself. I'm not going to let this betrayal break me. Sitting in the car, I realized that life is not only a joy, but also a challenge. And now I am going through one of the most difficult trials of my life. But I decided to fight. To fight for myself, for my future, for the people who love and support me. I took a deep breath and started the car again. Now I was driving slowly, carefully, thinking about what to do next. It was painful and difficult, but I knew I could get through it. It might take me a long time to heal from this betrayal, but I believed I could become stronger. When I got to my house, I turned off the engine and sat in the car for a few more minutes. I thought about everything that had happened and what I should do next. It was important to find the strength to go on with my life despite this pain. I decided that I would talk to my parents and share my feelings with my friends. I might even go to a psychologist to get professional help. But most importantly, I decided to live. To live and fight for my happiness, for my future.